Good day, viewers! Today, we will tackle having a point of inclusive education, or if it's just for a show. This video essay explores a crucial question about modern schooling. Is inclusive education a genuine impactful system, or merely a progressive concept used by institutions and governments for appearances? We often hear inspiring talk of equality, inclusion, and diversity in education. However, we'll investigate if these ideals are truly put into practice or if they are simply performative. We'll define inclusive education, review its supporting laws, and examine why its good intentions often result in display over true inclusion. We can define inclusive education simply as the commitment to having all learners, with and without disabilities, educated together. It operates on the core principle that a quality education is fundamental right of every child. As the experts at UNESCO explain, inclusion is essentially a constant effort to remove barriers and adapt to the needs of diverse learners, thereby increasing participation and eliminating exclusion. In the Philippine context, this commitment is solidified through legislation. The government has taken clear steps, including the landmark Inclusive Education Act of 2022 or RA 11650, which requires regular schools to provide inclusive education for students with disabilities. This is further reinforced by the Department of Education's inclusive frameworks and the 1987 Constitution's guarantee of the right to quality education for all citizens. Inclusive education promises genuine equality, but the question is, are we truly delivering? Without proper training of the teachers, inclusion becomes a symbolic gesture. Students may sit together, but their learning experiences are far from equal. Studies, like one by the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, paint a sobering picture. The vast majority of public schools lack the fundamental resources needed for inclusion, from trained teachers to accessible facilities and appropriate materials for children with special needs. Inaccessible resources and facilities. Inclusion demands accessibility. Ramps, wide doors, and specialized equipment like braille books or sign language interpreters. How can we claim inclusion when students can't even properly access the learning environment? Systematic overload and large class sizes. Public school teachers are often overwhelmed, handling 50 or more students per class. This pressure forces them to prioritize curriculum completion over the crucial personalized attention that learners with disabilities require. Stigma and social exclusion. Despite being physically present, many students with disabilities faces bullying, isolation, and low expectations from peer and even educators. Is inclusive education just for show? Considering these widespread deficiencies, it is fair to conclude that inclusive education for now often functions as a performance rather than a genuine transformation. Image over impact. Many institutions push the narrative of inclusion primarily for compliance and public relations. They showcase students during events or post inspiring social media content, but the real effort fades when the spotlight is gone. As one international report noted, inclusion is frequently implemented for visibility rather than genuine transformation. It's like applying a fresh coat of paint to a broken wall. Policy on paper only. While we have a landmark law in RA 11650, its practice remains weak. Experts argue that inclusive education in the Philippines is policy-heavy but practice-weak. We have the rules, but the political will, resources, and accountability mechanisms to enforce them are critically missing. Insufficient funding and tokenism. Inclusion is expensive, requiring budget for training and specialized materials. Yet, budget allocation remains limited. This lack of funding keeps the promise of inclusion purely symbolic. Worse, some schools resort to tokenism, featuring students with disabilities in events merely for public relations without providing consent support. Inclusion for the camera, not the classroom. Let's be clear. The goal of inclusive education is profoundly worthwhile. It represents a powerful commitment to equality, hope, and fundamental human rights. When inclusion is properly executed, its benefits are immense. It helps all learners, with and without disabilities, develop crucial skills like empathy, cooperation, and acceptance, effectively dismantling social stereotypes and fostering truly supportive communities. The success of nations like Finland, Canada, and New Zealand proves that this vision is achievable, but only when it's supported by robust teacher training, fully accessible infrastructure, and genuine community investment. Inclusive education is not simply a matter of physical presence. It is not about students just being seen in the same room. It must be defined by something far deeper, ensuring every learner is understood, supported, and valued equally. The vision we share is beautiful, but as the great abolitionist and activist Harriet Tubman wisely said, every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. This time we stop admiring the dream of inclusion and start doing the hard, crucial work to make it real, transforming our policies from paper promises into pathways for genuine, equitable success in every classroom.